Hello there. This is Sab here for the latest edition of basically my newsletter in a live version. So I'm just going to go through my Infinite Creativity newsletter with you. And if there's anything that brings up, I'm going to zip off to web pages and you can ask me questions about creativity, being more productive, anything you like. I decided to make the banner for this video the banner for my Today's the Day group, which is this. And this is something I do every week in the Today's the Day group. And every day I put my Paris photograph with Today's the Day written across it and a little slogan. And today it was enjoy the signs. So I thought I would start each day with that and enjoy the signs. Well, what does that mean? Well, it's me attempting to be creative, basically, and to think of something which is going to inspire people in some way, or at least make them think. If I show you the group itself, you can see that's the Today's the Day group, and I put it as the banner, and I change the banner every day. And I do that because I think it's nice to have fresh stuff to discover each time you go to the same old place. So every day I change the banner, but that wasn't enough for me. I thought I don't want to just throw more of my photographs at people with nothing new. So I decided just for this group, the Today's the Day group, to add a little slogan or a little something that came to my mind, which today is enjoy the signs. And it's supposed to be both positive, inspiring. No, that's both is two, isn't it? It's supposed to be thrice inspiring, positive, and possibly vaguely amusing or something, and in relation to the photograph. So enjoy the signs. Well, I do enjoy Paris signs, you know. If anybody knows me, they know that I'm a very keen Paris street photographer. And I spend a lot of my life talking about Paris and showing photographs of Paris and writing about stuff related to Paris and life, the universe and everything. So, so I like signs, but I also love curiosities. And there are so many curiosities in Paris, you wouldn't believe it. It's just full of them. This, for example, this street sign here that you can see, this it's not a street sign, it's a number for a house, well, for an apartment or a building. I'll get it right in a minute. And it's an old one. You see, they're not like this anymore. They're blue plaques now. And this is a sort of relic from the past. The idea was that you could actually see the number more easily when you're coming from the side, you know, walking along the pavement. It's easier to see the number because it's tilted towards you in both directions. But they didn't catch on, and now we have the blue plaques, and these are curious relics of the past. So there you go. So much for that. I've already got a comment. It's Karen saying hello. Hello, Karen. Nice to have you here with me. So I'm going to launch right into today's newsletter. But first of all, I will tell you, well, let me show you the newsletter. Here it is. So I'll make it a bit bigger. That's what I'm going to be looking at today. And as usual, how's that? Yeah, as usual, I will tell you that if you want to get the newsletter, you need to go here. You need to go to Infinite. Hang on, it's coming. It's coming. You need to go to infinitecreativity.com/newsletter. You get my new, and you'll come to this page. You can focus now. Thank you. And then when you get to that page, you can sign up for it, and you get a newsletter every day, I think, or maybe Monday to Friday. Haven't decided. With some inspiring stuff in there. And today you can talk about. I'm going to talk about the inspiring stuff from today's newsletter. That's it. That's the plan. So let's have a look at the newsletter. I called it Battle or Bliss. And where did this come from? Well, it came from, well, let me read it and I'll stop every now and then. One of my favorite writers on writing and art and the creative process is Steven Pressfield. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he's a very well-known writer on what I just said. And he's done some famous books, such as Do the Work, and I'm going to show you them to prove that I am a Steven Pressfield junkie. So Do the Work. What else? Nobody Wants to Read Your Shit. There it is. Sorry. And the most famous one probably is called The War of Art. And I do love his stuff, but I'm going to have to reread it with new eyes, since discovering an entirely new and far less confrontational way of looking at creating. I mean, I was a junkie for this guy, and you can look 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I've got the set. I'm a happy boy. But I haven't rejected his stuff. I still love it. But I was exposed to another way of looking at things, and it was so blindingly obvious that this was also a good way of looking at things. I wanted to share that with you. So I'm going to carry on reading. The way of just letting things happen and trusting to the universe that what will be, and what will get produced, and that's it. Two radically different ways of looking at things. I know that sounds a bit hippie-ish and spaced out, but the alternative offered by Pressfield is an out-and-out fight. And if you look at the subtitle of The War of Art, it says, break through the blocks and win your inner creative battles. Okay, so you've got to break something, you've got things blocking you, and you're in a battle to be creative. And I started thinking about this, and I started thinking, what a terrible way to look at, you know, what you're supposed to be loving doing. You're supposed to be loving creating stuff. It's supposed to be your passion and all the rest of it. And here we are in an out-and-out war. So I'm going to carry on reading. I know that if you don't make a concerted, regular, disciplined effort to get stuff done, then not much will get done, which is actually probably true in many cases. And hey presto, if you're not getting stuff done, you're not an artist, you're not a writer, you're not a photographer, you're not a, great cook or whatever, for that matter. You're just a dreamer. So this is something I try to help people with constantly. And, it might come up every single day of these newsletters, and I'm not really going to apologize. Hi, 𝘨𝗎𝗀, nice to have you here. Yeah, please comment. And if you have questions about creativity and productivity, or comments, or hints and tips, how you manage to create on a regular basis, or even at all, if it's not regular, please let me know. I'd love to see them, and we'll share them. So there's this danger that if we don't have any process, you're not doing anything, and you're just dreaming about it, which isn't really what we want either, is it? Let the spontaneity come, but then let me produce some stuff, please. Get round to it. I remember I was in a village in Wales once. For some reason, in Wales, there was a shop, a touristy sort of shop, and in the touristy shop, it was the first time I've seen it. That's why I mentioned Wales. And there was a thing that you could buy, a souvenir to take home to your the person in your family who didn't come on holiday with you. And there were these round sort of plate things, and on it was written, to it. This is a to it. Now you don't have an excuse, or something like that. So they were round, and they were called to its. So they were around to it. Sorry, I'm making a mess of this. But basically, you give it to someone, and you say, the person who says, I'll do it when I get around to it. I'll do it when I get around to it. So you give them around to it, and they don't have an excuse anymore. So basically, that's what we're kind of fighting against. It's true. We want to get around to all this wonderful creative stuff, but we need a bit of help sometimes. So, but as for forcing outcomes, especially creative ones, I'm not sure at all that the muse works this way. Pressfield says he prays to his muse, or offers her some acknowledgement every day before he starts work. So maybe he's found a way of keeping the ideas fountain open whilst still being organized and disciplined enough to do what's necessary to produce on a very regular basis. Every day, for example. So I thought that was interesting. I don't have any answers for you. Well, not today. I've got plenty of ideas. But there is this conflict between having great ideas and not wanting to be stressed and rushed and pressured, and wanting to produce stuff, wanting to create great stuff, actually get it out of you and into the world. That's the other half, isn't it? That's the other bit of the wonderful thing called being creative. first having the ideas, then producing the stuff. So that's why I focus, I always talk about creativity first, but then I almost always add and productivity. Otherwise you're just a dreamer. So here's my production table. I wanted to show you this. And I can literally show it to you now because it ain't moved much since I last took this photograph. I'm going to show you the same thing, which might seem a bit pointless to you, but anyway, it gives me a bit of variety. Throw the camera around a bit. All right, so there it is. All right, that's my productive table at the moment for my art, my infinity squared connective art. And if I go via the ceiling and that beautiful light bulb to this other corner, you can also see the same thing here. All right, so all of those are packs for my, art project, one of my art projects, which is called Infinity Squared Connective. And it's a process, and it's boring, to print out all these things that go in the packs, to sign them, to put the number of the piece of picture. It's kind of boring, kind of. But then it isn't. Let me go back to my newsletter, and I think I talk about this. So this picture shows you the extremely unsexy side of producing my intriguing infinity squared connective puzzle piece packs. Please check out this fun project at the Infinity Squared Connective website. It might give you some ideas, and I'm talking about this. I've just changed this to be, you go here, you adopt 1, 2, 3, or 4 pieces. You can claim a gift if someone has given you a gift voucher for one, and you can offer them as a gift as well. Currently up for adoption are these ones. There's 9 pieces. There's 8 pieces. 8 pieces are left in this one. And if you click here, you can see it bigger, but you only get 1 piece when you adopt. And you don't know which piece you're going to get. This is a tangent, but and you can click to see the original picture. This is what you're getting 1/9 of when you adopt a piece. And this is the same picture. This is my magic pictures, you see, no beginning and no end. That's the same picture as the last one. You can adopt, but when you adopt, you can't choose the piece, and you can't choose even the puzzle it comes from, the puzzle picture. So there's another one. This one has 6 pieces left to adopt. I only send them out in a set of 9. You just saw the sets of 9. This is me giving you my process for this, in case it's interesting. Tell me if it is interesting. Karen says, my hubby has a round to it. Does he really? Literally a round thing with to it written on it. That is fantastic. You see, it's not just some lost village in Wales that has them. There's a lot of people around the world that desperately need round to it, folks. Holiday ideas. Maybe I should start doing round pictures and writing to it on them. So I'm giving you my process. I mean, that's all I can do. I can talk about other people's processes, which I will, like I'm talking about this guy, but I will also talk about mine because I'm me, I don't really have a choice. So what was I saying? Yeah, so I've decided to keep myself a tiny bit sane, to only send out the 9 pieces to the 9 people who've adopted them when 9 people have adopted them, not one by one. So you literally don't know when it's going to come either. But so I'm saying, here there's 6 pieces left. As soon as all 9 pieces have been adopted, bam, I send them out. They're ready. You've seen them. And so there you go. This one, the adoption is complete. All of those pieces have been adopted, and they are about to be sent to 9 people. The original puzzle looked like this, for example, or maybe it looked like this, for example. Who knows, huh? Same picture. Right, so there's that. And I'm telling you that for a reason, but I can't remember what it was. So I'm reading this. The ultimate drag. It's funny because it's an absolute drudge, writing addresses, printing out labels, signing postcards, but so much so that I've decided to make it my meditative practice. So when I do, for example, I'm signing postcards. And this is a postcard with my poem and my picture on, my most significant poem, and a beautiful picture of the Eiffel Tower. And I sign it. I sign every single one. So like I'm signing hundreds and hundreds. And on this side, I write, with love from Paris. So you might think it's not worth it. You might think I should get it printed with love from Paris and my signature on it. But that's not what art's about. That's not it. Art is about having the feeling that when you end up with a piece of art, for example, that you're holding something that has been in the hands of the person who has created it originally and who has spent hours on, for a painting, it's many, many hours. For a small piece like that, it's still hours, but over days. That's the thing with art. The imperfection is the thing. And I say imperfection, I'm not a fan of imperfection, the word. But a lot of people, talk about perfection and imperfection. I've got rid of them from my vocabulary. But that's what you want in art. You want to see the flaws. That's another word that is flawed. They're not flaws. You want to see the brush strokes. You want to see where the person, added a little bit of paint. You want to see where the person smudged their signature a little bit. You want to see that. Well, I want to see it in a piece of art. I don't want perfection. I don't want it to look like it's been printed by a laser printer. This has to be, but not the signature. So as I'm signing these, I'm treating it as part of the artwork, part of the piece of artwork, which I'm sharing with the person who has decided to have it. And I recommend you do that as well. If you don't already, the drudgery bit, doing the same thing over and over again, even when it's not directly part of the creative process. Yes, but it is, because when I offer something to someone, it's the whole thing, the whole package that I'm offering them. And if I've decided they're going to have postcards with my signature written by me in 4 different colors, then that's what they get. And that's part of the process. And I'll take as much care over that as anything else. So I said it's become my meditative practice. I've got Rhonda, looking forward to receiving my pieces. Hi, Rhonda. Yeah, well, I hope if you didn't catch the beginning of this, just go back and I'll tell you exactly how and when you can expect to receive them. I can tell you immediately. I can actually tell you that your piece, one of your pieces is they're ready, but I have to wait until other people have adopted the ones that are waiting. So I send them off in one go. So several pieces have been adopted from the puzzle that you got a piece from. So I'm just waiting for 3 or 4 more adopters, then they're going out. And your other piece is in another puzzle. So you're not getting 2 pieces from the same puzzle. So you'll have to wait for that one for a separate time. That's part of the fun, you see. It's not really about, I want that piece. It's the whole idea of this sharing, which is all, I go on about at great length on Infinity Squared Connective. So that's where you can learn about that. So yeah, I'm so happy that you're watching, Rhonda, and I'm really excited and pleased that you adopted 2 pieces. And she says, no worries, I'm patient. Yeah, well, that's part of the game, but I hope you won't have to be too patient, And if you have friends, well, you can adopt for them, you can get them to adopt a piece, and then you'll get your pieces faster. That's an unethical bribe, I think. Sorry about that. All right, so instead of, so I don't meditate. It's never been my thing. Some people, especially in the sort of circles I move, there's a hell of a lot of heavy meditators, Anything from the most wonderful, gentle, soft, just don't worry about it type of meditating, to those who are really, really serious, and you've got to do it the right way, and you've got to do all the breathing stuff, and whatever you do, don't think of anything, or and so you're spending all your time thinking about not thinking of any, the whole spectrum. And I don't do that. For some reason, it's never become my thing. I can sit with my eyes closed for a while, but I like having lots of ideas. I like having a busy mind. It suits me fine. And if I want to meditate, I find, non-meditative ways of meditating. One of them is obviously, as I often say, just going for a walk in the woods. It's not meditating as such, but it's being closer to nature, and that's my way. Another way I've discovered is if I've got, a few of these cards to sign, like maybe many, I treat it as a meditative process. In fact, my paintings are a meditative process. Apart from the creative aspect of them, there's a process I use which is extremely repetitive, and you could well call it incredibly boring. But it's not, because I'm in the flow. I'm creating something. And if I have to do the same thing again and again, then that's part of the game. And I lose myself. I go off into, I even sing in a little sort of rhythm, you know, dum-de-dum-de-dum-de-dum. I have to paint all the edges, for example, the little squares. I paint the back and I paint the edges black. You can imagine if there's one painting has 9 squares. So each square has 4 edges. So that's 36 edges I have to paint in black carefully, and maybe twice. You know, it doesn't sound creative, but it's part of the package to make the front bit, which has got the pattern, the colors, the texture, to make that look beautiful. I want all 4 edges of every single square to be matte black. So there are, you know, it's a kind of way of thinking. I'm not separating the boring bits from the exciting bits, or the improvisational bits, or the spontaneous bits from the drudgery. I'm not separating them. When it's a repetitive thing, I feel kind of relaxed. When it's more spontaneous and I have to, you know, dare to do a brush stroke where one has never been before, then I'm feeling a bit more nervous, a bit more tense, or a bit more, you know, this is it. But that's all part of it. It's all part of it. And the icing on the cake, or the cherry on the cake, is when I finally let go of them. I let go of all of that creation, all the drudgery, all the exciting, the scary bits. I've wrapped them up. I've printed out my stuff. I close the envelope, go to the post office. Bye-bye. That's it. That is the culmination, the climax of all of those moments, including writing this little signature in 4 different colors. That's it. It's gone. It's going to have a new owner, and I'm on to the next thing. If I get nice returns from it, that's wonderful. If not, that's wonderful. You know, no point worrying about stuff that is out of your control. Okay, so there you go. That was a load of blah blah, wasn't it? Rhonda, haha, I teach meditation, and it has a myriad of manifestations. Before I even read the rest of this, one of the things about putting yourself out there is that you've got to dare to say stuff which might upset people. Because if you don't, you're just vanilla flavored, right? You're not of interest to anyone, or you're banal, or you're, you know, sort of bleh. So the thing about being creative, in any sort of creativity, you're creating something new that hasn't existed before, which means you're not following anything. If you're trying to be like someone else, you're not being creative. If you're copying somebody else's painting, yes, it's kind of creative, but it's not pure creativity. I'm talking about pure creativity, doing things that have never been done before, even if it's the brushstroke you're about to do. That brushstroke's never been done. But, you know, you could go further. You could be writing a text which is a bit controversial. It's scary to put it out there. But if you don't, what effect are you having on the world? None. Some people won't, if it's original in any way whatsoever, some people will love it and some people will hate it and some people will not be moved by it. And what do you want as a creative person? I want people to be moved by it. So of the 3, love it, you know, it's kind of exaggerating, but love it, not moved, hate it. Well, I will get rid of the middle one and go for the other 2. I tend to say that I'm not responsible for other people's reactions to my stuff. I think that's quite a good way of looking at life. That doesn't mean I try to hurt people or anything, of course not. But you can't really control other people's reactions to your stuff. And it's kind of them telling you about them. If they love it, they love it. I'm pleased, but I still don't necessarily think it's my thing that is lovable. Because if someone says they hate it, do I then think that my thing is hateable? You know, it's kind of a pointless exercise. So I love it when people love my stuff. If they hate it, well, at least they've had a reaction. Good for them. They're still alive. If they have no reaction, that's the closest I get to feeling that I've failed, but I don't believe in failure. As long as you try something, you haven't failed. You've succeeded. So let's see if I've really insulted Rhonda and her meditation or not. Haha, that's good. I teach meditation and it has a myriad of manifestations. Get to that daydreaming state of mind, alpha waves. It's all good, but if you want to dig deep into the mystical, you've got to do the work. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have nothing against meditation. I think it's wonderful. It's just that you can't do everything in life, and there's many things that you could do in life, and you have to make a choice. You know, there's so many things that I haven't dived into, which would be amazing. Of course there is. So I do what I can, and in the spirit of meditation, it seems that my go-to things are walking around in the countryside and being creative. That's my thing. So no, it's really nice to have comments. Wonderful. So I'm nearly at the end of this newsletter. I finish on the meditation thing here. Yeah, I've decided to make it my mantra. So instead of chanting mantras or just sitting there doing nothing to get calm or whatever it is, the wonderful things that meditating people do, I devote myself to the production side of my art and consider it almost as important as the actual painting. So I think I've talked about that. Something to think about: is being creative a battle for you or a moment of pure pleasure? What tips do you have about being creative enough to actually produce stuff that matters? Let's chat about that on the Facebook Live show. Well, that's this now. For this newsletter, we have, hey, it's a success. And in the comments in the Infinite Creativity Now group. I would like you to join the Infinite Creativity Now group, which looks like this. Hey, that's me live. And this group is where you can take the conversation further. I'm thinking of doing the newsletter at least Monday to Friday. And so at least Monday to Friday, I'll put a link to the video coming up later on in the day, 9 hours later here. And you can actually comment and ask questions on the topic of the newsletter in the thread for this video. Then I can see your comments and, you know, talk about them. So I think this is an interesting way of doing things. And some people already have, you see. Well, actually, I need to tell you that if you sign up, you get my ninja tips as well, which are, they're not ninja tips. Ninja's just a word, but they're tips. They're 9 things that happened to come to me when I realized that I promised 9 things on creativity for people. And I thought, well, I promised 9 things for people who join the list. Someone's joined the list. I think I'd better think of 9 things. That's the way I work. So I'm in the process of writing those. I've done 2 so far. They're supposed to be daily. They will be. As soon as I've done 9 and you sign up, they'll be daily. But until then, they're not quite daily. And they're fun. They're cool. And hopefully they'll spark ideas, just as I don't have it to show you. I don't have the sample one to show you right now. But if you've joined the list and you're watching this, maybe you've already joined my mailing list, which you do by going here, which I've already told you. I've told you once. infinitecreativitynow.com/newsletter. In any other news, I've given up ice cream and crisps, which are chips to Americans, and chocolate. Oh my God, what am I doing? I don't know if I'm going to stick to this, but the idea is that I've got a lot of, let me get rid of this. Should I? No, I'll leave it up there. It's colorful, isn't it? I've got a lot of experience with starting plans to give up things and then giving up the giving up. In other words, carrying on. So I'm moving away from that in the same way as I'm moving away from all sorts of goals. Goals still have a place, but they're pretty dangerous in some cases. So in giving up these bad things, I've decided to just give up, not to say how long I'm giving up for or anything else. I'm just saying I'm giving up. And if ever I start them again, then I'll have started them again. So that's the way I'm looking at it. It's Tuesday, so I've given them up for 2 days now. Pretty cool, huh? Because I'd replaced other addictions with new addictions, which, you know, it's not that good idea, really. And am I at the end of my newsletter yet? Yeah, so join the Infinity. If you're watching this video on my normal channel, on my normal Facebook profile, then join the group, then join the newsletter. If you're then join the Infinite Creativity Now group. And to finish off, I've said that your invitation to action is to adopt a puzzle piece, which would be fun, and then you join a wonderful adventure. And at the end, I say, please send me any questions about creativity or productivity, and I'll answer them in today's Facebook Live. I can't wait to hear from you. This works for every day. You can do that every day. And I will address your questions and comments in the next Facebook Live. I did have one bit of other news. I was watching this webinar yesterday or this morning, some guy, and he was giving us his 7 tips for something or other. I can't remember what it was, being a wonderful coach or something. And, you know, there was sort of standard stuff. It's all very internalized stuff, believing in yourself and I can't think now. You're the only one who can change your reality, all this sort of stuff, which was fair enough. And then his last 2 tips, which made me smile because, well, these last 2 tips were obviously very closely linked to the offer he was about to hit us over the head with, which was probably his coaching and his accompaniment or whatever. And the first, but having said that, they were still 2 fairly good tips. And the first tip, tip number 6, after the sort of general ones, was something like have a coach of yourself, you know, have a mentor yourself, have someone who has been or who is where you want to get to. So that sounded fair enough. Of course, he was putting himself in those shoes. And the absolute irony is that I'm asking myself if I'm now doing the same thing. But put that aside for a minute. So his number 6 tip was have a coach, or don't go it alone. Don't go it alone. And his 7th tip was have a group of people, have a support network or some sort of mastermind. And of course, he was offering this as well. So it occurred to me both that I kind of do the same thing. And I was going to make my last 2 tips in my 9 ninja tips exactly the same sort of thing. I'm not sure if I have done or not, but basically, in my group, my free Facebook group, it is his number 7. You know, it's a group of people where you can share ideas about creativity and stuff, but it's for free. So there's that. And my number 6 tip, I'm not quite sure what it was, but apart from these videos I do now, I do another one on Sundays, which lasts much longer, for 2 hours. And it's really like a kind of meditative space, if you like, to talk about creativity and stuff for much longer than today, which is supposed to be 20 minutes, but it's already half an hour. That's me. So yeah, so those last 2 tips in my ninja tips may well be something along those lines, but I'm not sure yet. So that's it. And I'll leave it there. Half an hour is supposed to be the absolute maximum. I was thinking 20 minutes, but it depends, you know. If people start asking questions, we can take it up to half an hour. That was it. That was my live newsletter for today. Sab's Daily Creativity and Productivity Chat is the subtitle to the newsletter. The subtitle is helping you to be as creative as you'd love to be. So if that sounds interesting to you, stick around, read my newsletters, interact. That's the best thing, you know. That's the best thing of all, is when we're not feeling alone and we're chatting about it together. And I'll throw creative ideas at you. Will you do the same? Will you throw your creative stuff at me? If you do, I will feature it on the live newsletter, on this. Yeah, you want me to talk about you and highlight something that you've done, show it to me and I'll do it. Okay, that's it. Thanks very much for watching. Tell your friends about this, will you? That would be wonderful. Please spread the word. And I've already shown you where to go to do that. Get them to join the newsletter and watch these videos. And thank you very much. Have a beautiful rest of the day and stay creative.